Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new video for my channel. It's going to be something that I hope is going to be weekly. I hope, if I can be asked to get my arse in gear, ironically enough. This is hopefully going to come out on Friday the 17th. So what's this thing about? What's this video you're going to be watching? So hopefully, like I say, it's going to be weekly, every Friday. It's going to be called the Week Ahead Podcast. Hopefully I'm going to get an audio-only version and a video version so you can listen to it on Spotify. It's going to be like me talking about a week ahead preview of things that are coming out over the next 7 days. So that's going to include movies, TV, sports, and the odd bit of video games. And then sometimes I might do some random question bit and bobs. So, right, to start with, we're going to be starting with movies releasing this week. Have The Professor, which is Johnny Depp's new movie, which looks pretty good. A Dog's Journey, which is a bit of a random sad one. That has to be right. And then we're also going to be talking about last week's movie releases and where they came in the box office for the week, and compare and contrast between the two probably. Then we're going to go into Weekend TV, Week Ahead TV, sorry, where we're going to be talking about Game of Thrones. And then there's a couple of pre-recorded segments. So we're going to have a special guest on that segment, my mother, Tanya. She's going to be talking about her recommendations. That's the word. That includes Daredevil, Umbrella Academy, and Sherlock, and a couple of surprises. Then we're going to go on to the sports section, where I'm going to be, because it's the first weekend since the football season started, I'm going to give you kind of my thoughts, quick thoughts on how the season went, how my team did, Manchester United, love it or hate it. I couldn't give two shits, to be honest, but that's your opinion. Then we'll roll into another pre-recorded segment of myself talking about some random topics of the week. So it could be any old shit. Just wait until you see the pre-recorded segment. And then last but not least, we have two things to talk about this week in the world of video games. Well, the games that I play anyway and stream. Blackout has had a new update on Tuesday to do with Ambush is back in the game. The Sniper is a knives only game mode, sorry. And that's squad, so that's 4 people. Along with Alcatraz, which has just recently had some updates. And the normal quads, duos and solos. Along with some of the other updates with multiplayer and zombies. We'll cover them briefly. We're also going to talk about, in the gaming section, one of my favourite games right now that I play all the time, Star Wars Battlefront 2. It had a community transmission released yesterday by Ben Walk, who's the community leader from DICE, along with Jay Charlemagne, who are on Twitter. I'm going to put their link somewhere so you can catch up on their stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much it, ladies and gents. So let's get into the stories. So next part we're going to move on to is the movies part of the podcast. So we're going to start with movies releasing this week. So the big one, the main big one, is John Wick 3 Parabellum, which stars Keanu Reeves, Halle Berry, Lawrence Fishburne's in it, I think. Ian McShane's in it as the leader of the Continental. The black guy that was in Fringe, that I can never remember his name. And a couple of others. So it's basically the concluding part to the John Wick trilogy. After John Wick 1, John Wick 2. You know how John Wick 1 is. I'm not going to spoil it. But I'll tell you, like, the bit that everybody knows that's out in pop culture, where his dog gets killed because it's a reminder of his wife. So it's the final part about how he rescues his dog. So that's the first one. The second one we're going to talk about is The Professor, starring Johnny Depp. So it's Johnny Depp's next movie along. I've got to be honest, I don't know much about it. It seems really good. From the trailers I've seen, it's pretty good. But I'll relay that bit when I talk about the synopsis in a minute. And the last one is A Dog's Journey, which is the sequel to A Dog's Purpose, I think, and it's all about a dog. Simples. Yeah, so let's get into the synopsis part of it, ladies and gents. So, let's do a quick deep dive into John Wick. So, the premise, idiot, you'll find that later, is after gunning down a member of the High Table, the shadowy International Assassins Guild, legendary hitman John Wick finds himself stripped of the organisation's protective services, now stuck with a $14 million bounty on his head. Wick must fight his way through the streets of New York as he becomes the target of the world's most ruthless killers. So that's the summary, pretty much. It's directed by Chad Stahelski, who helmed the first two movies. They weren't even sure if he was going to come back for the third one, but there you go. It's produced by Thunder Road Pictures, and it's based on characters by Derek Kolstad. So, essentially, like I say, it stars Keanu Reeves as John Wick, Halle Berry as Sophia, who's a new character, so we know nothing about her. Lawrence Fishburne is the Bowery King, who was the guy with the pigeons from last time. He was pretty good. Ian McShane is Winston, who's the head of the Continental from the last two movies as well, who helps out John. It's like John's father figure in a way. But yeah, so obviously this part's all spoilers, so I put a massive spoiler warning up for the first two movies, because even that synopsis just spoils the first two movies anyway. So next in the cast list is Angelica Houston, or Huston. Don't even know how to say it. I'd say Houston as a director. And like we say, Keanu Reeves is mainly known for the Matrix trilogy. So yeah, so that's mainly everything on John Wick. So yeah, we'll get on to the critical response. Like I say, gone Rotten Tomatoes like normal. So it's got a 95% critic rating on the site. That's based on 66 reviews, and most people have banged it. The average rating of everybody's reviews correlate together is 7.94 out of 10, so practically 8 out of 10, which ain't bad considering the last few movies have been about the same, I believe. 9. So 7 and 8. And it was given a B grade on Cinema Score. So that's pretty good. To be fair, Cinema Score is always the best one, along with Rotten Tomatoes. It grossed overall $88.8 million on a $20 to $30 million budget. So yeah, it brought back quite a bit on the first one. At least broke even. And then the second one, John Wick Chapter 2, that was done by Chad Stahelski as well. And that was on a budget of $40 million. And it grossed $171.5 million. So that more than broke even, made a profit, considering these movies are only made for like really, really, really small budgets. And reception. John Wick Chapter 2 also had a critical response of 89% on Rotten Tomatoes based on 255 reviews, and that was banged around an average rating of 7.3. So overall, they're all 6.94, 7.3 and 7.95, I think the original Chapter 3 is. So all in all, pretty good rated movies, and looking forward to John Wick 3, to be honest. And last but not least, we're just going to see where everybody pegs. So, like I say, John Wick Chapter 3 is on track for a $40 to $50 million opening weekend, which hopefully, it might be even more than that yet, we don't know, but this is according to Movie Web, that it might even overtake Endgame, so that's a wait and see at the minute. So next, ladies and gents, we're going to move on to The Professor, also known as Richard Says Goodbye, which stars Johnny Depp The director is Wayne Roberts, and it's the screenplay is also by the same gentleman. Like I say, it stars Johnny Depp of Pirates of the Caribbean and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory fame. It also stars Zoe Dutch, Odessa Young, Rosemary DeWitt, and Ron Livingston. And it's about a guy who's learning 6 months to live. A college lecturer, Johnny Depp, transforms into a rebellious party animal to the shock of his wife and school chancellor. And to the delight of his students, he leads a crusade against authority and hypocrisy. So that looks pretty good. That's a good one for the weekend if Detective Pikachu or The Hustle or Tolkien or A Dog's Journey isn't your type of thing. Something a bit different. Not superheroes or big blockbuster, smaller film. So next up, ladies and gents, we're going to be talking about A Dog's Journey, which is a sequel to A Dog's Purpose that came out in 2017. This is directed by who is known for 30 Rock, Modern Family, and a couple of things mainly. It stars Josh Gad, Dennis, Mark Helgenberger, Betty Gilpin, Catherine Prescott, and Henry Lau. Josh Gad, everybody knows Josh Gad from everything. He's been in Beauty and the Beast, Frozen, all that. Dennis Quaid, no need for explanation. And that's really it. That's the third movie this week to be predicted. It's a comedy drama film, so all about the dog from the first movie, who finds his new destiny and forms an unbreakable bond that will lead him and the he loves to places he's never imagined. So, how much better can you get? So that's going to conclude the week ahead preview part, and we're now going to move on to the week past, or the week behind, if you want to say. So now we're going to be looking at last week's movies and how they performed in the box office in the States. This is all going to be domestic States-wise. I haven't actually got the global numbers yet, so when I get them. So first movie we're going to be talking about is The Hustle, which stars Rebel Wilson and Anne Hathaway. Everybody knows Rebel Wilson from Pitch Perfect. She's in Grimsby, isn't she, with Sacha Baron Cohen. And Anne Hathaway's been in everything. Last movie that I actually remember that was really good was Ocean's 8. She's really good in playing that snarky, like self-obsessed character in Ocean's 8, along with Anne Hathaway was in Ocean's 8 with Sandra Bullock and Cate Blanchett, and that was a really good movie. Good continuation from the original Ocean's trilogy, which I really enjoyed. And I know there's a lot of hate because it's like a feminist thing, but I really enjoyed Ocean's 8, so I ain't going to complain. I've watched it quite a lot, and my family likes Ocean's 8, so there you go. So The Hustle mainly stars Rebel Wilson and Anne Hathaway, and it's directed by Chris Addison, who, if you realise, is actually the comedian, and I never realised this, the comedian that you always see on Mock the Week, that Chris Addison. And he's been on all the other UK shows, and I never actually realised it was directed by him. And so I'm just going to give a quick synopsis of the movie from last week, and then I'm going to tell you how it performed in the box office in the States. So Josephine Chesterfield is a glamorous, seductive British woman who has a penchant for defrauding gullible men out of their money. Into a well-ordered, meticulous world comes Penny Rust, played by Rebel Wilson, a cunning and fun-loving Australian woman who lives to swindle unsuspecting marks. Despite their different methods, the two grifters soon join forces for the ultimate score, a young and naive tech billionaire in the south of France. So, that's the main overview. Last weekend, it made only $13 million in the domestic box office, $13 million. So for a total domestic gross so far, because it's only been open for 1 week, is 13 mil. It came third in the box office. So, not bad. Behind Detective Pikachu and Endgame, which we're always going to have, throwing away the most, the big blockbusters of the last couple of months. So yeah, that's really everything on The Hustle. So we're now going to move on to the second movie that came out last week, The Small Sword. So yeah, so now we're going to move on to Tolkien, which is obviously J.R.R.R. Tolkien's biography, his life story. Tolkien stars Nicholas Hoult, who, like I say, played Beast in the new X-Men with James McAvoy and Jennifer Lawrence. But was he not also in About a Boy with Hugh Grant? I'm sure he was. I'm sure he was a little kid in About a Boy. He's been in other stuff. You'll know him from tons of other stuff. And Lily Collins, which bodes really well because it seems to be like a Lily Collins really heavy episode, which we'll be talking about later when my special guest, my mother, talks about Shadowhunters, Mortal Instruments. She was in the movie of that, if you didn't gather. And yeah, it's just basically all about Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien's life in World War One, how he wrote The Lord of the Rings, The Silmarillion, The Hobbit. So yeah, so it's all about The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, The Silmarillion, all them movies that have been like adapted so well by Peter Jackson both times, with great leads and everything. They're well famous, everybody's seen them. So yeah, so that's really a brief overview of Tolkien. It came in at number 9 on the domestic box office. It made 2,200,000 for an overall gross of 2,200,000 in the States. So yeah, not really good. It came 9th in the box office list according to Box Office Mojo. So yeah, it's good, interesting story. I've been trying to get out to see it. I haven't really had a chance yet. Same with The Hustle. The Hustle looks really good. I don't mind like funny films, and Rebel Wilson's always good in whatever she's in. Same with Anne Hathaway, like I said about Ocean's 8. So yeah, so we're now going to move on to the one big movie that came out last week, the big one, Detective Pikachu, starring Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu and Justice Smith as the boy that meets Pikachu and tries to go and find his dad, which isn't a spoiler because you see it in the movie. Still want to get out and see this one. Haven't seen this one yet, but it's got a really good cast, and obviously it's based on the world famous Pokemon, not Pokemon, like you idiots out there that keep saying Pokemon, right? Or Pokemon. No, it's Pokemon. Just read it properly. Pokemon. Your mum knows that. Right. So, yeah, but it's not actually based on the Pokemon anime show, or although it adapts some characters, it's based on a game called Detective Pikachu that came out for, I'm sure it was the Nintendo 3DS. I'm not actually sure, but yeah, so it's based on them characters, and it's got Justice Smith, like I say, as Tim Goodman, who's the lead character. Ryan Reynolds plays Detective Pikachu, who has that really funny hat on that I really enjoy. Catherine Newton, who is in Blockers with John Cena, she's like Justice Smith's character's Tom's like friend that they meet, and then Rita Ora's in it, and yeah, it's done really good. I'm just going to read out a quick like little synopsis of the movie so you can gauge if you want to go and see it. So it says, ace detective Harry Goodman goes mysteriously missing, prompting his 21-year-old son, Tim, to find out what happened. Aiding in the investigation is Harry's former Pokemon partner, wisecracking, adorable super sleuth, Detective Pikachu. Finding that they are uniquely equipped to work together, as Tim is the only human who can talk with Pikachu, they join forces to unravel the tangled mystery. So there you go, that's Detective Pikachu pretty much summed up. We're then going to get into where it came in the domestic box office last week. It made $54,365,242. And because it was new, that's the overall gross it got domestically in the States. So that was a pretty good opening. Still not enough to topple Endgame, which still's running strong with a weekend gross of 63 mil. And overall domestic gross of $723 million. So yeah, that's pretty much it for last week's movies and our preview ahead for this week. Like I'm doing later, do a kind of movies that I think you'll enjoy. I might have done it, but I think you'll enjoy them. Anyway, first one I really want to talk about because not enough people have seen it. And I do because I cried the first time I saw it. I know I cry a lot. I told you about Into the Spider-Verse, I cried, but yeah, cry a lot. Real Steel, with Hugh Jackman, is one of the best movies I have seen in a long time. It's not the like best produced or the best cinematography, but for like I could just sit there and watch it. It is so good. I still need to pick up the Blu-ray. I'd love to watch it all over again. Hugh Jackman is like this failing dad who lives in the future where humans can control robots, like they wear gear and they can control the robots and fight. And Hugh Jackman linked with his son through this robot fighting competition that they join together, and through this robot fighting competition that they join. And it's a really, really good story. And also in it, so yeah, it also stars Evangeline Lilly of Wasp fame and Lost, Wasp and Lost, that rhymes, and Anthony Mackie, Falcon, and everywhere else. I know I relate everything to superheroes, but you know him most as. And Durand. And it's directed by Sean Levy, and it's based on Steel, which is like really, really good. And like I say, so it follows by Hugh Jackman, who used to be a prize fighter when heavy towering robots took over, essentially. Now working as a small-time promoter, Charlie pieces together scrap metal into low-end fighters for other people, barely earning enough to make it from one underground venue to another. At the bottom, Charlie recently teams up with his estranged son to build and train a championship robot for his last shot of redemption. I love this movie. I cannot recommend it enough. I hope you get out and see it. Blu-ray. Yeah. So, ladies and gents, we're just going to run through the box office top 10 for the weekend of the 10th and the 12th. I'm just going to read out the name and the number and tell you if they've moved positions or whatever. So, first is Avengers Endgame, still reigns supreme. That's on $63 million at the minute, still top. Same as last week, number one. Then a new entry in second, Detective Pikachu with $54 million. Almost caught Endgame. Really shocking, but Endgame is on its third week as we go. Then we go into The Hustle, which is also a new entry at number 3, which is $13 million, pretty much to the dot. And after that, we have The Intruder, done by Screen Gems, which was second last week, apart from these two new movies that have come out. It's now fourth, and that is on $7 million. Then Long Shot, which was third last week, now fifth, which is $6 million. Then Poms, which is a new entry, that's basically at 6. Then after that, Ugly Dolls was fourth, now 7th, that's $4 million. Then Breakthrough, which was 6th last weekend, now 8th, on $2 million. Tolkien, new entry, in 9th, made $2 million. Curse of La Llorona, which is a Warner Brothers movie, was 7th last week, now 10th, and that made 1.85 mil. Then in 11th, we have Captain Marvel, done by Disney. That's made another $1 million into its like 10th week. I think that is, yeah, 10th week. And that was 5th last week, now back down to 11th. And Shazam in 12th, which was 8th, now back down, done by Warner Brothers. That's $1 million. Then Dumbo in 13th, which was 9th, now 13th. That made $744,000. Then Little in 14th, done by Universal, was 10th last week. Made $684,000. And finally, last but not least, in 15th, new entry, Student of the Year 2, made $462,000. So yeah, that's basically the weekly roundup of all the box office numbers and movers and shakers and everything. So on to the next part of the video. So we're going to move into the next part of the podcast. It's going to be TV based. So the majority of it is, this part is going to be Game of Thrones, and then I'm going to do some TV recommendations later on with my special guest, my mother.
Hi everyone.
So that's going to come up next. That's like a pre-recorded part. So just what we're going to talk about now is Game of Thrones, this season of Game of Thrones for a little bit, and then predict what we think we're going to see in the final episode. So we've literally just watched episode 5. I think it's called The Bells. Or
The Bells, yeah.
And we've watched episode 4, episode 3, episode 2 and episode 1, obviously. So, yeah, what do you think on the season so far?
I think it's great. Absolutely great. I like the way they've done the story this time round. The fact that they're also a bit longer than normal.
Yeah.
The characters are more explosive, I think. This one.
Explosive. That's a great word to use.
Well.
But yeah, just so like you lot know, it's kind of going to be spoilers for this. So we are going to talk a little bit. Not everything, but yeah, so basically, why we're saying explosive is Daenerys has basically blown up the whole of King's Landing and everybody's died.
Yeah, and the Red Keep has been brought to the ground.
Clegane Bowl happened. The two Clegane brothers fought. Arya literally saw everybody burn to death. Jon's turned on Dany. Tyrion's turned on Dany. Varys died, got melted. What else are we talking about?
Jaime and Cersei
Cersei got squished together. Euron died. Fucking hell, there's more.
Jaime killed him.
Jaime killed him, you're right.
Yeah, another notch on the King murderers list.
The Kingslayers list, yeah.
Kingslayers list, yeah.
But yeah, so that's really our thoughts on this episode. Really enjoyed it. Loved Thingy. Daenerys' turn didn't come out of nowhere, but
she's gone batshit crazy.
But that part kind of came out of nowhere, if you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
You weren't expecting it.
I wasn't expecting
So that was really good. Yeah, the full season overall, like the first 2 episodes, all the talking and the Brienne and Jaime stuff was really good. Hated that he went back to
Cersei.
but there
Yeah,
you go.
no, he's got to be mad.
Arya killing the Night King was really good. Really enjoyed that whole episode. The only problem with it was it's fucking dark. Like they needed to brighten it up a little bit because when I watched it, it was like fucking pitch black.
Could hardly see anything really on the screen.
Nightmare.
I mean, if you'd got something on your TV, like if the sun was out
Right,
and you were trying to watch it like we
fucked.
were today, you just couldn't see it.
You're
The screen was particularly black.
So that's really the thoughts on the season overall. So now we're going to kind of like talk about how episode 6, how we think it's going to be tied up and what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think Dany's going to die. Don't know who's going to do it. Don't know if it's Jon or Arya. Because Arya didn't get to kill Cersei, did she? Because the hound stopped her.
Yeah.
So I think either Arya's going to die, Arya's going to kill Dany, or and Jon's going to end up on the throne, or Jon's going to default the throne and somebody else is going to take over, like a Tyrion or a Gendry.
Yeah. I still reckon that little ditty that you said that Daenerys is going to try and burn him. I think she's going to use the... Which one?
Drogon.
Drogon to try and burn him. And like all Targaryens, you can't be burnt by fire. So
he's fireproof, so then he's going to turn around and say, "Ha, bitch." But yeah, so that's really the main thoughts for tomorrow, for next week. Tyrion, I think he's going to go on trial for letting Jaime out, but I'm not sure if he's going to die. I don't think he's going to die.
I don't think he's going to die. I think he's going to be one of the ones that survives.
And then they're going to tie everything else up. I haven't really got predictions for everything else, but we'll cover that next week probably.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
No, not really. I mean, I don't really want to see the series disappear. I think they should at least have done 8 episodes.
I think that's the one thing I can say about this season is I think it's been a little bit rushed.
It's way too short, way too rushed. And they could have spent a lot more time developing it. They could have made them a lot longer.
Could have made like the Battle of Winterfell like over 2 episodes and made it a lot more climactic.
Well, it just seemed like it was all
squished
into one episode. I mean, the way the Night King died, yeah, brilliant for Arya to do that.
It was a good ending, but you could have built it up.
They could have built it up a bit longer. There could have been a few more bits with him finally saying something to somebody rather than just... looking and pointing and that being the end of it.
Find out his backstory or whatever.
Yeah.
There is that.
Find out where he came from.
What
caused the Night King.
I think that's kind of like the main weakness of the show. But other than that, it's all been pretty good. The content we have got's been pretty good. Like I say, I think this ending's going to be a little bit rushed, but they could have done that over a couple of episodes as well. But really, that's been like the main problems with this, to be totally honest. So...
I think it's more the fact that they don't want to spend too much money on it. They've already spent millions and millions and millions, I suppose. So.
HBO, they actually confirmed this. This wasn't like HBO's decision for money. It was the screenwriters who were doing the next set of Star Wars movies.
Oh, right, I got you.
That have like decided, oh yeah, fuck it, we're going to do it over 6 episodes. Don't know why, but that's why they've decided to.
But then it just fucks up the story.
Same
then.
last season. Last season should have been like a good 12 episodes. I can't remember how many it was. It was like 8, wasn't it?
It was 8 last season.
So that's really the main negatives of this season of Game of Thrones. Like I say, we're going to pass over to a pre-recorded segment of me and my mother talking about recommendations of TV series.
Some awesome ones in there.
That we think you'd enjoy. And yeah, that's really it. So I'm going to pass over to past me and he'll take it on from here.
See you later, guys.
Welcome to the next part of the podcast. This part is where I make recommendations of TV series for yourselves. Considering not every TV show is on every week, I can't necessarily talk about what series are ongoing because most of the TV series that are out nowadays are just dumped onto Netflix. So I thought of an idea where I give you recommendations of TV series maybe necessarily I haven't watched yet, but ones that I've heard are good or have been recommended by other people. We're going to see how many I can kind of recommend. So the first TV series we're going to be talking about, ladies and gents, is Umbrella Academy. Obviously it's like a really popular one right now on Netflix. Based on a comic series by Dark Horse, I'm sure it's Dark Horse, right? It's a superhero thing, obviously, because like the majority of the movies and TV series I really enjoy are superhero stuff. I like the odd like normal one like Game of Thrones. So just quickly I'm going to read out the premise, synopsis, whatever you want to call it. So essentially on the 1st of October 1989 43 women around the world gave birth simultaneously, mad, despite none of them showing any pregnancy until they went into labour, even more mad. 7 of the children are adopted by Reginald Hargreaves, and turned into a superhero team which he calls the Umbrella Academy. Hargreaves gives the children numbers rather than names, and they are eventually named by their nanny robot mother, Grace. Luther, Diego, Alison, Klaus, number 5, his only name, Ben and Vanya. While putting 6 of his children to work fighting crime and stuff, he keeps Vanya apart from his other siblings as she has no powers really. Cut forward to the present day, Luther's an astronaut, Alison's a famous actress, Vanya's a violinist, Klaus is a party animal, madman. With drugs, yeah, I was going to get to that part. Ben is a ghost only able to converse with Klaus, and Diego has become a vigilante with a penchant for trouble. The strange siblings learn that Reginald has died and gather for his funeral. Number 5 returns from the future, revealing that a global apocalypse is imminent. Meanwhile, the reunited siblings try to uncover the secret of their dysfunctional family while beginning to come apart due to their divergent personalities and abilities. So that's pretty much just read off the website. It's just a brief overview of what's going on and get to my thoughts in a very few minutes. Yeah, to start with, it's got like a really good cast. Ellen Page, so Juno, Tom Hopper, Robert Sheehan, who's been in all like these rom-com fucking things. Oh, Mortal Instruments, that's the one. And and I forgot about that bit. He was in Mortal Engines as well. So yeah, it's got a really good cast. Heard it's really good. Superhero stuff always intrigues me. Been recommended it by friends. Mary J. Blige is in it and all. A couple of others. And first season's all been on Netflix, so you can just go and binge that right now. So that's the first recommendation. I can't really talk about much because I haven't seen it, but all I can say is I'm trying to get on it like really quick. So that's really a synopsis of what it's like. Audience viewership, it's 45 million viewers when it first dropped, and it's got a 76% on Rotten Tomatoes because I know tons of people love talk about Rotten Tomatoes. 76 critic approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's got an average rating because don't forget 76% means 76% of the critics actually enjoyed it. Doesn't mean that's how they're rated. So they've actually, the majority of people, an average rating, obviously majority, is 7.27 out of 10 based on 76 reviews. So that's pretty good, and like it's been compared to Doom Patrol, X-Men, what's the one? Teen Titans is very similar, although that might be a recommendation in a couple of episodes time on the podcast. And what was the next one I was trying to think of, like Gifted and all that. So really that's the overview of Umbrella Academy. Really, really good show. Love to talk about it more, but I cannot talk a thing about it because I haven't watched it yet. So hopefully I'm going to get on that soon. So the next show we're going to be talking about is, probably a lot of people would have seen it by now, is Daredevil. Yes, that Daredevil. Yes, I know, all the shit that goes on with it. Is it part of the MCU? No, it's not part of the MCU. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Because they always talk about the event, which isn't really a spoiler, because it's like in the first episode of Daredevil and the rest of the MCU Netflix shows. The event is kind of like the New York battle and the Avengers, but they don't really talk about it much, because as there's parts of stuff out there that you can go and research, but essentially up until like, I think it was like For the Dark World, Kevin Feige was actually under Ike Perlmutter's, I think his name is, control. Them two were kind of like the head of Marvel underneath Bob Iger, and they reported through. And like, from what I've heard, this isn't my own words, from what I've heard and what I've seen in articles and stuff, Perlmutter he's a bit of a sexist pig, let's put it that way. And essentially, the reason why, I'm going to spoil Iron Man 3, so if you don't like it, skip ahead. I don't know, I'll timestamp it on the thingy. In Iron Man 3, at the end, when you realise it's Aldrich Killian who is actually the Mandarin, which I enjoy the twist, I know people don't. Rebecca Hall was originally supposed to be the bad guy in that. Maya was supposed to be the bad guy, but he thought she's a woman, so she's not scary. Kind of paraphrasing, but there you go. But anyway, I'm kind of getting off track here. Get back to Daredevil. So Daredevil was the first Netflix show brought out after the split between Perlmutter and the thingy. Perlmutter took over the Marvel series and the TV series, and Feige took over the MCU as we know. So Daredevil, it follows Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock. Matt Murdock, as a kid, and you see this in the show, this is like in the first episode, he gets blinded by some chemicals. He walks in front of a truck, and he gets hit by the truck and blinded by some chemicals, so he can't see, he goes blind. But when the chemicals hit him, he gets super sense, like Spidey sense. So when he sees in like pulses, so he can see people around him. And from then on, you see it with his dad, which I don't want to spoil, but there's some stuff that happens with his dad, and then the show picks up when he's older, where his best friend, him, Matt Murdock, and his best friend Foggy Nelson, who's played by, I'd love to tell you, I know his name, I can't find his name, Eldon Henson. Foggy's like kind of his like lawyer partner, and he's like a lawyer by day thing, you know, like normal superheroes. Lawyer by day, superhero by night. And he dresses up in his red Daredevil costume, and he's also trained by another martial artist as a kid called Stick, which you see through the show. And from then on, Charlie Cox, Matt Murdock, like devotes himself to like fighting bad guys. So the bad guy and the opposition in this is the Hand, which is like a supervillain ninja group, and all like ninjas and everything, that take on Daredevil, and they're more of a thing later on with some of the other series like Iron Fist, which will probably be another recommendation even though people don't like it. And the bad guy, played by Vincent D'Onofrio, is Kingpin, and Kingpin's been in like all sorts of Marvel stuff. Like he was in Into the Spider-Verse this year, voiced by Liev Schreiber. He was played by Michael Clarke Duncan in the original Daredevil in 2003, where it's Ben Affleck. Yeah, I know, that 2003 Daredevil. But it's a really good series. It follows Matt Murdock from child blinded by chemicals all the way through to the badass fucking Daredevil character that he plays. Just so you know, guys, Daredevil came out in 2015. There's 3 seasons of it. But I'd recommend watching the first season first, and then which are going to be my other recommendations, and you really need to watch Jessica Jones. You can see all the chronological order. I might actually put it up on the screen now of how you should watch all the MCU Netflix shows. You can all the way up to the Defenders and then on. There's only 3 seasons of it, and just so you guys can make up your own decisions, do reception. This is what I was looking for. So Netflix doesn't normally give out their numbers, apparently, so I can't actually see the audience viewership at the minute, but I will give you both the Rotten Tomatoes and the Metacritic. I know I never gave you the Metacritic results for Umbrella Academy, but I just couldn't find them on the website. So apparently on Rotten Tomatoes it's got a 99% approval rating, Daredevil season 1, which means 99% of the people who reviewed the show enjoyed it. Based on 71 reviews, that's critic reviews by the way, not us but critics, and it had an average rating of 8.1 out of 10, so it's not bad, to be fair. Metacritic is signed a score 75 out of 100 based on 22 critics, indicating generally favourable reviews. So there you go, so pretty good. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next part of the Week Ahead podcast. I did say eventually I'd get a special guest on, and we actually have one right now. Who the fuck's this? Right, so this is my lovely mother.
Hi everyone.
Tanya, if you want to call her that.
Yeah. Stupid is another one.
Stupid's a good one. I've just done 2 recommendations on Daredevil and Umbrella Academy, I think. Yeah, so I've done those 2. So I thought, you've got my recommendations, and they're mainly superhero ones, so I thought we'd have a bit of variety on the show.
Definitely variety. So she's here to talk about her first show, which I think is going to be Sherlock, the Benedict Cumberbatch one. So first we're going to look at the cast list. So it's got Doctor Strange himself, Benedict Cumberbatch, Martin Freeman, who's been in Black Panther, and he's the Hobbit, obviously. Rupert Graves, Una Stubbs, Louise Brealey, I think that is, and Andrew Scott and Amanda Abington. So they're all the cast from Thingy. And I'm just going to read the premise, which I keep getting shit about because I keep calling it premise.
So Sherlock depicts consulting detective Sherlock Holmes, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, like I said previously, solving various mysteries in modern day London. Holmes is assisted by his flatmate and friend Dr. John Watson, who has returned from military service in Afghan with the Royal Army Medical Corps. Although Metropolitan Police Service detective, that's a long fucking bit, Inspector Lestrade, Rupert Graves, and others are suspicious of Holmes at first, over time his exceptional intellect and bold powers of observation and what's the other one? Deduction. That's
the word, yeah. I think you've got it
persuade them of his value. In part, through Watson's blog documenting their adventures, Holmes becomes a reluctant celebrity, with the press reporting on his cases and eccentric personal life. Both ordinary people and the British government ask for his help. Although the series depicts a variety of crimes and perpetrators, Holmes' main nemesis, also from the books, who was by... can't remember his name, can you?
No, it's got me now. Conan Doyle.
Arthur Conan Doyle.
Conan Doyle.
It came to me then. He's a recurring feature. Molly Hopper, played by Louise Brealey, is a pathologist at St Bart's Hospital, occasionally assists Holmes in his cases. Other recurring roles include Una Stubbs as Mrs. Hudson. She's like the caretaker.
She used to be on when I was a kid. Wurzel Gummidge.
Mate, look at this.
She played Wurzel Gummidge's girlfriend.
And the series creator, Mark Gatiss, I'm sure he was the one in Game of Thrones that did.
Think so.
Golden Company, I think. Yeah.
Maybe.
Anyway, and he's Holmes' brother, Mycroft. So that's my part done. I'm going to pass you over to her, and she's going to discuss everything about the show and why she enjoys it. So here you go, Mother.
Yeah, here you go, Mother. I don't know about discuss. I might make a few comments about it. I was introduced to it by a friend of mine. I've never been much for up-to-date stuff. I'm a bit of an old bod. I like the old stuff, like some of the original Sherlock Holmes stuff. But this sort of intrigued me because I've seen Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. Because, you know me, I do like my superhero movies.
Like me. You know where I get it from.
Yeah. Like mother, like son. Or like son, like mother, whichever. But I wanted to see him in something different. So I watched the Sherlock Holmes. I've only watched about the first 3 episodes of the first series that he did. I picked, I think it was Study in Pink was the first one. It was about a lady that died that's in a suitcase that had a pink suitcase, and she was dressed in pink and everything like that. And the way that Sherlock, or Benedict, depicts Sherlock in the thingy is very, very eccentric. He flicks from one thing to another and back again. You get really lost in the plots, which I do. I get really engrossed in the plots because I get very confused as well, which is typical for an old girl of my age. But yeah, I really enjoy the show. It's something that is, because it's more modern day, but it still has the original Sherlock twists. Like his room is very decorated in old world, even though it's still 221B Baker Street. It's still old-fashioned.
Makes a change from 223 Baker Street to Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
but yeah, I might put a picture up actually of his inside.
The inside of his room. Yeah, it's very sort of eclectic then. It's not got anything that matches. Everything is different. It's all muddled. Nothing seems to be in the right place. And as far as his sidekick, Dr. Watson, is concerned, he makes me laugh. The fact that he does a blog on the computer, and
a bit like this.
Yeah, a bit like this. Yeah, it's really it's a good program to watch if you're get a little bit of intrigue and find out what Benedict's like in other parts. It's a really good series to watch.
So that's summing up on Sherlock to start with. We've got her on for a little bit longer, ladies and gents.
Oh dear.
A little bit longer. She's going to talk about, it's not a fictional show, it's more of a non-fiction show really. But she's been trying to get everybody into it. Me, my granddad, everybody. It's called The Last Alaskans, and because it's non-fiction, it's only got a really, really, really small premise, not premise. And basically it's about
it's basically about the last remaining Alaskans in a section of Alaska, North Alaska, close to the Canadian border, which there's only about 12 cabins remaining on there. The whole area has become a wildlife park, and what they're actually trying to do is make it go back to the wild. So there's going to be absolutely no people living there eventually. These people have got they have like a certificate that allows them to live there, and the certificate only lasts to the end of life of their first children. So the people that have got the cabins now, it can be passed on to their children, but once their children die, it don't get passed on anymore. It's just the end of it. So this part of Alaska will be completely abandoned with no people. It'll all go back to animals and snow and ice
and
yeah, but the thing is, it's all about their life and how they live. Like 8 months of the year it's dark, it's winter. The other 4 months is when they do all the crop growing and all their it's basically subsistence living, and how they hunt deer, and you know, how they live, how they cope without doctors, and how they have to get to if they have to get to places, they have to use a bush radio to contact to get helicopters in, or aeroplanes to take them to hospital and stuff like that. But it's more about the lives of the people that live there and how they've kept this lifestyle going. The last couple of series I wrote, one of the guys that was on The Last Alaskans, he actually died in the show. He contracted
spoilers.
He contracted cancer. I won't tell you who it is because you'll have to watch it to find out who it is, but it's really sad, and the story about it and the way they live, it sort of goes back to the dull ages when we all lived, you know, when Indians and bow and arrows and stuff like that. It's really interesting, but it's a real life thing, and they are real people. It's not stories, it's about their life, and it's a fantastic thing to watch. I really enjoyed it, and I've like Bryn says, I've been trying to get him and other people interested in it. It's just the way they want to keep life the way it should be. you know, the series of life from death to eating to being reborn and stuff like that. It's really good on real life stuff, really.
Right, and we've got one last one for her, and for her to discuss. It's called, well, it's based on a book series, and there was a movie. I discussed this earlier with Umbrella Academy, because Robert Sheehan was in the movie with Lily Collins.
Mortal Instruments.
Mortal Instruments, here we go, City of Bones. So, the TV series is called Shadowhunters, and it's like subtitles, brackets, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's on Netflix at the moment.
So it's basically just
Netflix series at the moment, so you can get all the episodes up to date. I think it's on the second or third series now. I'm not sure, but I can't wait for the next one to start, to be quite honest.
Right, so like I say, I'm gonna go through the cast, well, most of them, and then do the plot. So we've got, first off, Catherine McNamara as how do you say her name?
Carrie Frey.
There you go. Straight from the horse's mouth, should I say? Yeah. That's not nice. Dominic Sherwood as Jace Herondale. Alberto Rosende, is that?
Yeah, Simon Lewis.
Matthew Daddario as Alec Lightwood. Phone keeps going off. Oh, that's her name. Emma Raw-Tubia, I think that is, as Isabel Lightwood. Isaiah Mustafa as Luke Garraway. Harry Shum Jr. as Magnus Bane, and I'm not going to do that one because that's for season 2. And recurring cast mainly is Alan Van Sprang as Valentine Morgenstern, and he. Should I say that? No, that's probably a spoiler.
No, it's a spoiler.
Yeah, so I'm not going to say that. So yeah, so that's mainly the cast. I don't know a lot of them from a lot of other shows or series. So how do you say her name again?
Carrie Frey.
Carrie Frey.
Yeah.
Right. Has just enrolled at Brooklyn Academy of Arts. On her 18th birthday, she learns that she is a shadow hunter, a human born with angelic blood who protects humans from demons and rogue downworlders. That night, Carrie's mother, Jocelyn, is abducted by a group of rogue shadow hunters called the Circle. Their leader is Jocelyn's ex-husband, Valentine Morgenstern, who is also Carrie's father. With her mother missing, Carrie turns to Luke, a person she trusted, only to be betrayed. Carrie joins up with a group of shadow hunters to save her mother and discovers powers she never knew she possessed. Carrie is thrown into the world of demon hunting with the mysterious, narcissistic and attractive shadow hunter, Jez. And also her loyal and geeky friend, Simon. Now living amongst the fair folk, warlocks, vampires and werewolves, Carrie begins a journey of self-discovery as she learns more about her past and what her future may hold. And if you've seen the movie, it's very similar plot-wise. Ish. So there you go.
Ish. The series is a lot better than the movie.
So yeah, so like I said, I'm going to pass it over to my mother for the last time to talk about Shadowhunters Mortal Instruments while she's texting here. Right.
I got into Shadowhunters from Bryn's dear sister. My daughter, Kira, she watched the movie, loved the movie, and then she started watching the series. And she got me in she sort of introduced me to it, and like a mum normally does, I don't want to watch that rubbish, you know. And then one day I was really, really bored. There was nothing on telly, so I went on Netflix and I found the series, and I started watching it right from the beginning after having watching the movie myself. So I sort of it took me a while to get into it. Carrie was the original bit in the beginning was that she was an art student, and her mum had kept it secret that she was a shadow hunter, and on her 18th birthday everything comes back to her about, and she starts getting these feelings and stuff like that, and then she actually sees a shadow hunter, namely Jace, and he doesn't understand why she can see him, because shadow hunters are supposed to be able to use a rune that they've got tattooed runes all over their body, so they use this rune to make them invisible so humans can't see them. And Carrie could actually see them because only another shadow hunter can see a shadow hunter when it uses runes. So it's a really in-depth story. The storyline is fantastic. Each one is different every week, obviously, with that type of thing, but they really intrigue you. And of course you've got a love story in there as well, as you know from the movie, well, if you've watched the movie, there's the Jason Carrie love thing, and that carries on in the series. But it actually tells you the beginnings of it before, when they first meet and how they get together and what goes on from there. And it's really good, the little twists and turns that are in it. There are a few little bits of shockers that you don't realise that come up in the... I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil it if you're going to watch it. But her best friend basically is in love with her. You can work that out right from the beginning. That's oh God, I can't think of his name now. Simon. Simon.
That's the one bit I do remember, because that is Robert Sheehan's character in the movie.
Well, he actually falls in love. He's in love with Carrie and wants to spend the rest of his life with her. She's just totally oblivious to it, so which is quite funny. But the fact that there's a mixture of witches and warlocks and fairies and angels and demons and devils, and
everything.
It's just really good.
Mystical.
It's really mystical. If you like anything mystical, it's really, really good. But don't take my word for it. Watch it yourself. That's all I can say. I haven't really said a lot. I've just waffled on like I normally do. But
if you've watched my podcast all the way through by now, then you really do realise all of our family do waffle. We're trying to cut it out.
But it is a good thing to watch. It's a fun show to watch. It does keep you intrigued, and I actually sat and watched the whole of season 1 without a stop. So that's I watched every episode from beginning to end in one day.
Jesus
and it was awesome, and I loved it, and I couldn't wait for the second series to come out, and I think the third series has just started on Netflix, so good thing to watch.
That's pretty much it. All I'm gonna do now, just to finish it off before I hand it back to future me again from earlier, is talk about like the reception and critical response, because I know some people are interested, and I did it for Daredevil and I did it for Umbrella Academy, so I'm kind of going to do it here as well. So to start with, Shadowhunters, the debut season from critics on Metacritic got a 45 out of 100 based on 9 reviews, which isn't a lot really, so pretty much that's like mixed or average reviews, really weird. And Rotten Tomatoes, which is the main one that everybody talks about, is got a 46% rating, so 46% of all the critics really enjoyed it. So that's not much, that's like quite a low rating and all. That's only based on 12 reviews though, so it's not a lot, so make your own mind up is what I always say, even though I'm a stickler for taking critic scores to heart. And it had an average rating of 5.6 out of 10 for the first season. So yeah, so that's Shadowhunters. Let's go on to Last Alaskans, if there is any. Just double check quick. Not really, it's just like it's pretty much the whole seasons are all in 1 million US viewers, so it's got a high viewership pretty much. But like I say, it's all really like fiction, so non-fiction, sorry, so just make your own mind up on it. And then last but not least is Sherlock, good old Benny Cumberbatch. So got a Metacritic score for the first season is 85 out of 100 based on 17 reviews, so that's pretty good. And season 2 scored 91 out of 100, so that's pretty good, and that's based on 24 reviews. While series 3 is 88 out of 100 based on 22 reviews, so all pretty high there. Rotten Tomatoes for the first season has a 93% critic rating, 94% for the second season, and the third season has 91%. The fourth at the minute only holds a 55%, and they're all pretty highly rated, to be fair. So yeah, so that's really everything, to be honest. I'm just going to say goodbye to Mother, I think. You want to say goodbye to the fans?
Yes, bye all. Maybe you'll hear from me again, maybe not.
Maybe not. Maybe we'll have a different guest next week. We don't know yet.
That's if we can find somebody. Yeah, drag them in by the scruff of the neck.
Yeah. She didn't even want to be on this, and then it's been like the most natural part of the podcast so far. So yeah. Yeah, so I think that's everything from this part. So I'm going to hand back to future me, who's going to take you on to the sports section, I believe. Okay, right, goodbye. So yeah, ladies and gents, we're going to move on to the next part of the video, or the podcast, which is going to be rounding up sports events. So I've got a part coming up pre-recorded later, we're just going to talk about some random sports events of this week that have come out. But because my major expertise is football and the season's just finished, we're going to kind of do a quick roundup of where the teams went, who got relegated, who got promoted, what the finals are looking like, what leagues in other countries are looking like, and yeah, let's begin. So first, in the Premier League, Man City came top with 98 points, won the league, obviously, beating out Liverpool by 1 point on the final day. So those two have both guaranteed Champions League football for next year. Same with Chelsea and Tottenham, who both finished on 72 and 71 points respectively. Then we moved down into the Europa League spots with Arsenal, 70, and my team, Manchester United, with 66 points. Then we go for the rest of the table. Wolves in 7th, Everton in 8th, Leicester in 9th, 10th West Ham, 11 Watford, 12th Crystal Palace, then Newcastle, then Bournemouth, Burnley, Southampton and Brighton. We've just recently sacked Chris Hughton, which we'll get into in the next pre-recorded part. Finally, relegated, Cardiff, Fulham and Huddersfield. So 2 teams that went up this season gone straight back down, so not good. So next we're just going to go through Championship. We're not going to go through the whole league. We're just going to sum up who's promoted and relegated. So Norwich and Sheffield United are confirmed to be promoted. Now we're just waiting for the playoff final, which at the moment is... This off fly. Either going to be Leeds United or Derby County, because they still have to play their second match, or Aston Villa. So, could be all have played in the Premier League before. All should really be Premier League teams, to be honest. So, I look forward to that one. So, that's really the playoff dates and everything. The playoff results, sorry. And then going down is Rotherham, Bolton and Ipswich. So, yeah, so not really good in that league for Rotherham, Bolton and Ipswich. Next up, we're going to move on to League One. My hometown team, Luton Town, came top, 94 points. Then Barnsley. And then at the moment, we're doing a playoff between Charlton, Portsmouth, Sunderland and Doncaster for the playoffs in that league. And then, last but not least, Bradford, Scunthorpe, Walsall and Plymouth are all relegated. So, not good for those teams. So, League One playoff at the moment it's 1-0 to Sunderland in their first leg at home, 2-1 to Charlton in the away leg at Doncaster, and then we're still waiting for the Portsmouth Sunderland game, return game, and the Charlton Doncaster return game to see who will be in the League One final. So that's that in a minute, and then we're going to move down the league to League Two. Another one of my teams, my local team, Lincoln City, came top of the league with 85 points. Then Bury, and then MK Dons. And then at the moment, we have a fight between Mansfield, Forest Green, Tranmere and Newport. See who'll get promoted. And I'll talk about that playoff final in a moment. And then right at the bottom, we have Notts County and Yeovil being relegated to the conference. So we'll now move on to the League Two playoff final. So at the moment, it looks like it's Newport and Tranmere in the final to see who goes up to League Two. Newport got knocked out by Mansfield got knocked out by Newport, and Forest Green knocked out by Tranmere. So yeah, that's really a sum up of all the English leagues at the minute, and then we're just going to move on quickly to the Spanish league. Barcelona come top, the Liga Champions, done well. Atletico second, Real Madrid third, and Valencia fourth, all guaranteed. Valencia are not guaranteed fourth spot, as they have one more game to play in La Liga. And then I can't really sum up the relegation zone yet because it hasn't really promoted. It's going to be between probably Girona and Celta Vigo, but Rayo Vallecano and SD Huesca have already been relegated in that league. So let's slowly move on to the German league. So Bayern champions again. When are they not champions in that league? Let's be honest. Next Dortmund, RB Leipzig and Borussia Mönchengladbach. They're the 4 Champions League spots guaranteed. Then Europa League, Bayern Leverkusen, with Eintracht coming in 6th. So that looks like it at the minute, but they've still got a couple more games to play. That's how it stands at the moment, the German league. And it looks like at the moment Stuttgart are going to be in the playoff with the 3rd place team in the German 2nd division. They have a really weird way of doing it. But Hanover and Nuremberg are in the 2 pretty knock on. What's the word I'm looking for? Pretty nailed on relegation spots. And finally, we move to the one last league that we're going to be talking about is the Italian league, with Juventus pretty much guaranteed champions. Again, just got a couple more games to play there. Napoli, Inter Milan and Atlanta currently are in the Champions League spots. Milan's in the Europa League spot at the minute, with Roma coming 6th. Then bottom of the league at the moment is Chievo, Frosinone and Empoli. So that looks like how it looks at the minute. Chievo pretty much guaranteed relegation. I wouldn't say Frosinone are far off, to be honest. And then we'll just go have a quick look at the AFL Cup final for this year. It was obviously Chelsea City final, so we're just going to be summing that up. Ended 0-0, went to extra time, 0-0 through extra time, went to penalties, and City won it 4-3 on penalties, so that's not bad. And then later on this year, end of May, we've got a Watford v Man City FA Cup final, so we'll see how that goes. So that's pretty much the sum up of the season this year. We're just going to throw over to past me to talk about all the random sports topics of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Week Ahead podcast with your host, myself, Bryn Larden. This part of the podcast is pre-recorded and it's basically random sports stories, so anything that goes on within the world of sports. So it could be funny stories, it could be interesting stories, it could be stuff you don't hear about all the time. And I've just got to say, this part of the podcast was recorded on Tuesday and this should be coming out on Friday, so all facts, figures and all that should be correct as of this video, and if they're not, then fuck. So let's get started. So first things first, there was a story this week that I saw that related to F1, so Formula 1, where the country of the Netherlands is going to have its first Grand Prix since 1985. And it will return to the F1 calendar next year, 2020. And it will take place at the historic Zandvoort circuit from the 8th or 10th of May, if I've said that correctly. And it will be on the same weekend this year that was the Spanish Grand Prix. So that's the first story. Second story is Serena Williams and Carolina Wozniacki have pulled out of the Italian Open, but Serena has said herself, and this is a direct quote, she has said, I look forward to seeing you all at the French Open and next year in Rome, as she's had to concentrate on rehab right now. Former number 1 Carolina Wozniacki also pulled out in Italy at the same time. So yeah, that's the second story. The next one is more to do with my expertise, where ex-West Ham manager Slaven Bilic, who used to also play for the club, the Croat, is interested in the Celtic job, which Brendan Rodgers has just left, I believe. Yeah, Leicester City. He manages Leicester City. I don't know why I had to research that, but there you go. Also, on the football front, UEFA are actually considering asking FIFA to get Manchester City banned from next year's Champions League for a breach of financial rules, which will be another time for City, because they've also broke financial fair play rules previously, 2 times previously, I'm sure. So yeah, again, City in trouble for monetary swindling. I suppose the best idea. Next on the list, Swansea City, the Welsh club, have blocked an approach from Brighton for their manager Graham Potter, as Brighton have recently sacked Chris Hughton. Chris Hughton had taken Brighton to 17th, so just above the relegation zone, so it's expected that probably they would sack him. So yeah, on to the next story. And next, but certainly not least, this is a good, lovely story for the week. Lewis Hamilton has flown his F1 car he used in the Spanish Grand Prix to a terminally ill 5-year-old boy, because the child was kind of his spirit angel over the weekend, and that's what inspired Lewis to win the Grand Prix. And next story is there is a manager that manages in the Scottish District Welfare League. He's the manager of the club Chaplains, which is a weird name. And this guy, Larry Bareilly is his name, 83 years old. He's actually the oldest manager in the UK at the minute. Longest serving manager, not oldest manager. And he's been managing at his current club for quite a while. That's mad. He's 83 and he's still managing a football club. It's one of the maddest things I've ever heard in my life. Larry is 83 and has been a football manager for almost 66 years. Larry himself started managing in 1953, the year the Queen was crowned, as in Queen Elizabeth II. Joseph Stalin died, and Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay became the first people to reach the summit of Mount Everest. Jesus Christ. All due respect to the bloke, I couldn't see myself managing a football club at 83. Mentalist. But all due respect to the gentleman. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, that will conclude this pre-recorded part of the Week Ahead podcast. Thank you very much for listening, and I shall pass you back to future myself. So, in the next part of the Week Ahead podcast, we're kind of tying in with the movie part. We're going to be talking about the Blu-rays that are going to be released this Monday the 20th. So, at the minute we have Glass, which is the next in the trilogy from M. Night Shyamalan, or Shyamalan, or wherever you say his name, behind Unbreakable and Split. Then we have Godzilla 1998, the Matthew Broderick one's finally coming out in 4K. Julius Caesar in 1970 is coming out on a Blu-ray and DVD double play. Mary Queen of Scots, the one with Margot Robbie, that's coming out on Blu-ray, 4K and DVD this Monday. And then if I just turn the page, we got Murdoch Mysteries Season 12 coming out on DVD. Ray Donovan Season 6 coming out on DVD. And then The Upside coming out on DVD at the same time. So that's really it for the Blu-ray section. They're all your pickups that you really need to be looking for this week, along with Bumblebee that came out last week and all the other ones that came out last week. So we're now going to move on to the last part of the podcast, the gaming part. So, ladies and gents, last part of the podcast. I know it's a long old podcast. Hopefully we'll slim it down for the next one. It's just, all this stuff is just, it's my first one. I didn't know how it was going to work out and everything. So, let's see how we get on. So, last part we are going to talk about today is the gaming part. The games that I play. Mainly Battle Royale, a bit of Star Wars Battlefront in there, and anything else that comes out in the next couple of days, I will update this video. So, first thing, every Tuesday pretty much, Treyarch put out an update for Black Ops 4. This week they've brought back ambush quads, so the sniper and knife only game mode. They took out shotguns, which they used to have in the last one, plus no ATVs, pretty much no vehicles, and pretty much no shotgun. So yeah, that's pretty good. Plus a couple of other additions to multiplayer, which are... Now I'm just going to go on Twitter. Got a babe station going on, babe station. I'll show you that later. Shit. Just got to do this bit. Treyarch Studios. So yeah, as I was saying, Hot Pursuit to follow on PC and Xbox One, along with Ambush back on the PS4, because PS4 get priority because they paid for it. Sniper rifles, shotguns and Bowie knives only. I was wrong about the no shotguns rule, just researched it. Final collapse will always end in an open location, so it's good sight lines for snipers. SDM has been removed because that was a shit in that game mode before. Concussion grenades and cluster grenades are removed, and like I said, ATVs and ARABs will be removed for that. This is all part of Operation Spectre Rising. Obviously, like I say, they put out on their roadmap, which hopefully there'll be a picture of right now. Hopefully we'll be getting the 50 versus 50 deathmatch version of Blackout, Ground War version. We'll be getting the Ground War version of Blackout. And then on multiplayer, Bare Bones Deathmatch Mosh Pit begins this week on Friday. So obviously that's a good addition for multiplayer. Featured playlists for the PS4 are going to be Ambush, Alcatraz, and Xbox One this is, and solos, duos and quads. And then for the PC it's Ambush, Bounty Hunter and duos. Multiplayer featured playlists are going to be Prop Hunt, Deathmatch, Domination, Bare Bones Mosh Pit, Infected, Mercenary Deathmatch, Mosh Pit. And for PC it's Prop Hunt, Deathmatch, Domination and Bare Bones Mosh Pit. So that's your update for Blackout this week. Pardon me. So the next thing we're going to be talking about is the last thing in this whole podcast is Star Wars Battlefront 2. Our community manager, Ben Walk, put out a new community transmission yesterday talking about the new updates to Heroes vs Villains. They've finally removed the targeting system. It is now going to be only a bit like Blast. So it's just first to 25 eliminations. So that will be good. I'll put the whole community transmission up on the screen now so you can read for yourself. Next up, I did say if anything new came up, I would update you. Not long after our community manager, Ben Walk, posted the HVV changes CT, he followed up with a couple of new tweets talking about the new HVV changes coming next week on May 22nd. Ben confirmed that the number of kills needed to win a game in the new HVV mode can be changed server-side without having to deploy a hotfix or a small patch. So if the community finds that 25 kills is too low a number and matches are ending too quickly, this number can be changed to 3. He also confirmed that during playtests, the match lengths when trying to achieve 25 kills are roughly the same as a match of the old Heroes vs Villains with the target system in place. And then that's pretty much it. So this is going to conclude the first ever Week Ahead podcast with your host, myself, Ben Williams. Hope you enjoy it. Please give me some feedback at the end, and going to be popping up now down here somewhere is going to be my new email, which I would love for you guys to send questions to myself, and we're going to save the end of the show next week for viewer questions if I get any. Okay, so cheers for tuning in. If this does get an audio only version, thanks for tuning in on the audio only version, and many thanks. Goodbye.